Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'll talk about linear functions, which is a favorite of College Board for the SAT. There are many questions that ask you to apply a linear function. So what is a linear function? So a linear function is typically written as function of x or fx is equal to mx plus b, and we also write fx as y. Okay, so it is a function of x and it is linear, so x is to the power 1, and you know that this is the equation of a straight line, and hence the word linear function. Alright, so what is m? M is called the slope of the line, and b is called the y-intercept. That means where on the y-axis is this line intercepting the y-axis. Alright, so if we now draw any straight line, we draw the axes, the x-axis, y-axis, and the origin, and the equation of the line in the general form is y equals mx plus b, where y is also called the function of x. So y is varying with x, so it's a function of x. And you could draw any line and the equation of that red line is y equals mx plus b. Now b is this distance is b, which is the intercept on the y-axis, that's the length of that line segment. So the coordinates of this point are x is 0 and y on the y-axis is the length of b. Alright, so that's b. The slope m is given by y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, where say you have any 2 points x1, y1, and a second point x2, y2. So to define a line, all you need are 2 points to define a line. So one of those 2 points could be the point at which the line intersects the y-axis. Alright, so let's focus on the slope, because that defines the change in y over the change in x, and that's a critical fact or technique that you can use for word problems on the SAT involving linear functions. Alright, so what is the slope of this line? The slope is really the angle at which the line is from the horizontal, which is this distance, the vertical distance, which is y2 minus y1, and the horizontal distance, which is x2 minus x1. Now y2 minus y1 is also called the rise, and x2 minus x1 is also called the run. Right, so that's your slope. So slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then the important thing is that is the change in y. I'll just write that as delta y, meaning it's the change in y divided by the change in x. Alright, so let's look at a linear function that could be on the SAT in different forms. You could have a linear function as h equals 3a plus 5, right? And the question could say h represents the height in centimeters and a represents the age. So height versus age, just as an example. So that's a function. So if a function like this is given, h is a function of a, and that's how the equation is written. The question says if the age increases by 2 years, what is the increase in height? So there are lots of questions that talk about increase or decrease in a variable and how it impacts the other variable, right? So if that's the question, the first thing to recognize is that 3 is the slope, right? 3 is the slope of this linear function, and that is equal to a change in y, which is h in this case, divided by the change in x, which is a in this case, right? So once you write that from that linear function, then if the change in a is given to you as 2 years, and you have to find out the increase in height, then all you are doing is 3 equals delta h over delta a is given to you as 2. So delta h then becomes 3 times 2 of 6. So really what this function is saying, that for a change in age of 2 years gives you a change in age of 6. So this is a very useful and short and easy technique to solve a word problem on linear functions. Alright, so let's look at another function. Linear function that's given to you, k as a function of n, equal to 1.5 times n minus 9. And k could represent anything, which is a function of n in a word problem, right? Okay, and then the question is, if n increases by, so increases n is 3 degrees, then what is the change in k? Right, so say what is the change in k? So there are different ways of doing it. You can put n as n plus 3 and solve the equations, but those are lengthy solutions. Like we discussed, the easiest and the shortest solution is to recognize that in this linear function, 1.5 is the slope. So slope is equal to 1.5, and that slope is the change in y, which is k in this question, divided by the change in x, which is n in the question. So once you find the simple equation, then a change in n is given to you as 3 degrees, right? So therefore change in k would be 3 multiplied by 1.5. So your change in k will be 1.5 times 3 is equal to 4.5. So that's a very simple way to solve these kind of questions. Okay, so hopefully that helped, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.